Welcome to the Breath of Life podcast. I'm Yulia. Here, we explore the world and our place in it through the lens of interconnectedness. If we could feel part of the living world, not just intellectually, but in our bones, if our breath could sync with the larger rhythm of life, how would that change the way we live, work, and make decisions? Join me for conversations with people who live and work from that place.
Today, we're going to be discussing an exciting topic. I love creativity. I love magic also, and creativity does feel like magic. Birna is a super cool expert around creativity, and she will also introduce herself. But I'll just start with a little story of how we met, and it was on LinkedIn. I've been kind of like on this creative wave, I would say, for the last year. And I think through a common connection through Michael, I saw some of your comments. I was like, wow, she's so cool. I really like how, she thinks and what she shares. And then I also found out that you are into nature very much. And so am I. I was like, oh, even more in common. And then Birna even went to a very cool event about sorcery and its connection to neurobiology. So I thought that would be a really cool topic for a conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, I really like what we have in common and how it all connects, nature and creativity and magic and sorcery. I love this topic.
Yeah. Birna, can you just briefly introduce yourself, what you do, and then also how you got there?
Yeah. I sometimes describe myself as Iceland's biggest nerd when it comes to creativity and innovation because I'm super passionate about those topics and I've been diving deep into them for a decade now, more than a decade. And these are just topics that I'm really passionate about because I feel like they are so powerful. And I've been doing a PhD research on this topic and consulting and giving presentations at different companies and creating a software that facilitates brainstorming, especially for remote teams. And like this is just I'm really passionate about it. And it began to focus on creativity. It began more probably 13, 14 years ago. Just I went into this for my PhD studies and just always it's just like a snowball effect and it just grew and I'm really passionate about it. And especially like we talked about, like it to me it feels like magic because creativity has been defined as a thought process that leads to something new and useful. And it's like we can use our thought processes to create something new and useful. And we need creativity for innovation. And innovation has been defined as making those ideas happen, kind of. So creativity is the thought process of coming up with the ideas. And then innovation is this part where we make them happen, make them become a reality. And to me, it feels so magical that we can use our thought processes to imagine something that sometimes has not been here before. And we can create something magical and yeah, maybe also because I'm so passionate about this topic, but also that creativity is often misunderstood as only art creativity. But what I like most about creativity is problem solving. I'm really passionate about problem solving, and creativity is a really big term because it can be something small, something new and useful only for me, or new and useful for my company, or new and useful for my society, or then the biggest part is for the whole world. So it's a really big spectrum what creativity is. And yeah, what I like to focus on is also that we are all creative and we can all create, but at different parts of this spectrum. So yeah, I feel it's magical what we can do with our thought processes, and also we are all creative, but we can all become more creative. And people are often used to training themselves in maybe a new software at the office or learning to play golf better or whatever, but really few people train their thought processes. So I'm really excited about neuroscience and how our brain is functioning and how that is related to creativity and innovation.
So I just I wanted to ask you a couple of questions before.
Yeah.
The first one is this is I read it somewhere. I don't remember that. In the world with constrained resources, there are only two alternatives. One is to fight for resources, and the second is to be creative around resources. And therefore, creativity is almost this survival trait for humans. And I've also read, humans are trying to define themselves through something unique that they have. And, sometimes they do, but turned out other beings also have this trait. But lately, I've heard that it's like the distinct characteristic of humans may be this creative ability. What would your what would you say to that?
Yeah, like creativity is so powerful, and like you mentioned, it can be our unique expression and characteristics. And what I love about creativity is that we can choose so much, like where we are focusing it, and we can create our life. We can create, we can come up with many different solutions how to be in better relationship, better parenting, better nature lovers. Like we can direct our focus, our thought process in so many different directions, help us live the life we want to live. And there's this one story that I love, and it's about a woman that comes to her dad, and she's really exhausted. Like, but dad, life is way too busy, and like I'm working full time, and I'm taking care of the children and the home, and like life is way too busy. And her dad says, "Okay, let's go to the kitchen." He brings on 3 pots, and then he goes to the refrigerator and takes out potatoes, eggs, and then finds coffee beans. And his daughter is like, "Oh, Dad, what are you doing? Like, I don't need food. I need solutions. Like, how am I going to do this all?" And he said, "No, wait a second." Then he puts water in all the pots, and then he puts the potatoes and eggs and the coffee beans in it when the water is boiling. And after a while, he takes it out again and puts it on the table and asks his daughter, like, "What do you see?" And she's just frustrated still, like, "That, tell me." Like, I'm way too exhausted and I don't want to play this game. And he tells her, when we put the potato in the boiling water, it was firm, but now it's softer. And when we put the eggs in, before we put them in, they were really liquid inside, but now they are firmer. And the coffee beans, when we put them inside, they were hard, and now they have the same texture. But if you look at the water is the same except where the coffee bean were. And he told her, think like a coffee bean, be a coffee bean in your life, change your environment, and not allow the environment to change you. And I feel like creativity helps us be the coffee. Like we can change the environment with our thought processes. We can change our life and world. So yeah, I think it's super powerful.
And then maybe environment also, like nature, for example, it would also probably change us to some degree.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Nature is just absolutely amazing for creativity.
And before I ask you the next question about creativity, can I just be curious and ask you what your PhD research is about? I think we talked about it once, but I just want to, remind myself as well.
Yeah. So the focus is on, like, the main theme of it is think inside the box, because limitations can be really good for our creativity. And I've created a model that helps organizations create better. I call it the creativity train model. And it's actually, the purpose of the model is to reduce fear and uncertainty, because fear and uncertainty are really bad for our creativity. And our brain, because I love neuroscience, our brain is always, the main goal is to keep us alive and help us and allow our genes to live longer. So the brain, like, we love to create, but we have to feel safe enough to do it. And so if there's uncertainty or not a safe enough environment in your work environment, it can really limit your creativity. So I'm researching that, and also how clear job descriptions can help you create better. And then I'm also researching AI now, and yeah, so it's a combination of how to create within a box, because a box can be really helpful for our creativity.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that I think about often nowadays. Of course, if you just create a constraint, then this is the impulse that you get to somehow overcome it and do with, with what you have. Also, just as in cooking, for example, right? Be creative with one onion, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. But if you have a whole grocery store in front of you, like, it's a lot harder to create unless you have like tomatoes, garlic, basil, pasta, like some main ingredients. Like, you can create something maybe more unique, even though you have fewer ingredients, because it was just way too much for the brain to have the whole store. But if you narrow it down, it can help you even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's really a cool topic, I think.
Yeah.
Those constraints are good for humans in general and for creativity as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So so if we could now turn to creativity, and you shared already a little bit about how creativity can be like sorcery, but maybe can you say a little more?
Yeah. So yeah, I went to this event on sorcery in mid-age, especially in Iceland, and because I love learning different things and think about creativity from different perspectives. And this event, they were talking about the main ingredients of sorcery was you cannot do sorcery unless you believe in it. And that was the main thing. For sorcery to happen, you need to believe in it. And it's similar for creativity, because, for example, research have indicated that if you believe you're creative, you tend to be more creative. And also, a part of our brain is called reticular activating system, and sorts like out what you're aware of in your environment. For example, right now, most likely you're not aware of how you feel in your big toe and right foot or something like that, because you don't have to be aware of it because we are just speaking. But if I mention it, you're aware of it. But before that, the brain just did not make you aware of it. But if you knew that it was important to be aware of your big toe, maybe there was a, like, I don't know, snake on the floor or something, you would have to be more aware of it. And your brain knows it's important to me to be aware of my feet. So this system is similar to a personal assistant. So when you tell that system, I need to be aware of it, you're more likely to be aware of it. And similar, when you tell your brain, I want to solve this problem, you tend to see more solutions for it. And the way we can tell our brain that problem is important to us and we're looking for a solution is through writing and saying it aloud and showing our brain that it's important to us. And this belief system, if we go back to that, it's so important also to communicate that with the system, that you believe in it, that you can solve it, and you're looking for options. And yeah, it helps us. And at the sorcery event, they were talking about that. So the first rule is you have to believe in the sorcery. And the second is that if you write it down, the spell is stronger. And similar with neuroscience, there's a connection between the writing down and it's stronger than just writing it on your computer. And also, if you said this spell out loud, it was a stronger spell. Same with, you activate so many systems in your brain when you say things out loud. And what I loved about it also was that they were telling about some sorcery rules, like spell. Yeah, there's a spell ingredient. And for example, for one of them, you had to go to a church and get some metal from a church bell, but you had to get the metal right after the ceremony had started. And when the priests were walking back to the church, and you had to like crawl to the bell and get something from it and get it before they were able to walk back in the church. And no one was supposed to see you. And some spells were like that. And I loved it because it really activates your system, and this powerful feeling can help us turn on this reticular activating system, and that we believe more strongly in it, and then we are more likely to notice how to create it and make it a reality. And also another thing in sorcery was that you often call on higher beings for help and protection, and believing in something higher, more like higher being, can help us calm the nervous system. And a calm nervous system is a lot more creative. Yeah, so I saw many similarities in sorcery and creativity and how neuroscience now can connect in.
To me, I think when you are going to collect, for example, those weird ingredients, when you're going to tell a spell, and you have also this state that it's like who Einstein I think famously said that you cannot solve a problem from the same state as you created it. So it's like, one of our states, or the one for a lot of us, it's kind of like a 24-hour state where everything just usual, trying to be rational. And this is those solutions and breakthroughs, I think, come when you are so receptive and open and react to those unusual things in your environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also nature was often an ingredient in sorcery. Science has shown that nature can help us calm our nervous system, and a calm nervous system is a lot more creative. Also, what I like a lot about this is placebo, because years ago I was in a car accident and a drunk driver drove into the side of my door, and I had to be in rehabilitation for years. And the doctor told me, like, you just have to come into terms with it. You're not going to heal. And I'm so stubborn, thankfully, that I did not stop trying. But through that process, I learned a lot about neuroscience and how the brain works. And like after being in a car accident and learning about placebo, I see its power, because a person can believe something is working and it actually works. And yeah, to begin with, I thought it was like you were tricking your brain and it wasn't real. But then I realized it is actually real. The brain does produce things that reduces pain. And a person had a knee surgery, and like they did a research where some people had real surgery, but other they only had the skin cut. But the same healing happened because the brain believed that it had got the help with the knee. And so in magic, like you had to believe in magic. And I think also placebo is playing a large thing in that. And at the event, I had this, they were telling this story about a couple. They believed their neighbor was a sorcerer, and they described that one evening the wife of like she had a really weird sensation around her body, in her body, and she was acting so weird, and and then later her husband got it as well because the neighbor was a sorcerer. And like afterwards, it's most likely just what is called nocebo, which is the negative effect of placebo. You believe something bad is happening to you, then it can happen. And yeah, so this belief thing is a really important part of sorcery. And I believe it's a really important part for creativity and innovation as well, because if we believe it, the brain wants to be correct and is helping us seeing the world to help us be correct. And if we believe we can create something magical, I believe we are a lot more likely to do so. And also, yeah, if you believe it, you're most likely, if you believe it or not, you're most likely correct. I think it's a lot more powerful sentence that we realize. And many people say like we can create extraordinary lives, but we limit ourselves with our beliefs. But I think we can open our minds to creating something spectacular with this powerful ingredient that we humans have, which is creativity.
Yeah, and you saying about this accident that you went through, and also what you did in the process. I remember that the first time that we met, you shared about that, and I was like, wow, this is just so amazing. So maybe just actually in the context of magic, can you share a little bit about that, if you don't mind?
About the recovery.
Yeah.
I believe creativity helped me recover a lot because, like, to me, in the car accident, I had a really bad whiplash symptoms, and I had chronic whiplash and chronic pain. Sometimes my face was hanging, my whole arm was numb and like really bad headache and the whole body just in pain and like it lowered my thinking because it blocked so much in the back of the neck and like it was often challenging. But but I believe, like, I found it so weird that the body can heal a broken bone, which is, to me, is something so solid. And I, like, if I would not know it, I would find it hard to and I believe that the body could heal a broken bone, but it's like the body can do it. And to me, it like felt so weird. Like, why on earth can my body not release this tension and heal the connection and heal the whole system? So I believed that I could heal, and I think it helped me a lot, which is the same ingredient of sorcery. It's just a belief system, and creativity, like the science of it, is that the best way to come up with a good idea is to come up with many, and you have to experiment with many different things, and also like people often see only the success stories. But for example, I can't recall the numbers, but Beethoven, he had to create a lot of sonnets or what is it called, like pieces, for like only few got really famous based on how many he produced, and the same with like several artists, and like I'm following one innovator, and he has done like 100 companies, like small experiments, and like a handful of them are successful and generating income today. So in creativity, quantity is the key. Like, you need a lot of different things, and I have tried so many things to heal my system, and I think they work together a lot. But one interesting thing was to learn to reprogram my brain, to go from pain into safety, and to understand that the brain was triggered to feel unsafe when a drunk driver just suddenly drives into side of my car and with my 10-month-old daughter in my car. So my nervous system was just tensed up, and 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 so it's the brain was produced because the system was so tense, and I was learning to realize that when I had pain, and I noticed that I had pain, that if I would go into thinking about pain, I would be strengthening that connection in my brain. So the more you do something, the stronger the connection is in the brain. But when I realized I was thinking about pain, my goal was to redirect my thought process towards gratitude, because gratitude can be so healing and so powerful, and it calms the nervous system. And so I just again and again was redirecting my thought process, and also I was learning methods from neuroscientists, and they were teaching don't call it pain. If you have to tell someone that you have pain in your back and can't do something, create a silly name, like say you have bananas in the back or something that makes it more light and not as serious and tense, more like, oh, I have some bananas, I'm gonna lay down for a while. And it really changed so much in the body and helps the system calms down. And yeah, so I learned a lot about reprogramming and how important repetition is. And same with creativity, like you can train yourself to become better because you strengthen those connections. And yeah, so I think the combination of sorcery and magic and creativity is that do a lot of experiments and learn about the nervous system and how the brain is talking to your system. And also, like, what I like to focus on is this, that we have a brain, and then we have a heart, and then we have a digestive system, the stomach. And many talk about, like, we have three brains, and to connect all of them and like listen to all of them, like, how is my body feeling? Even though my brain wants to go forward, my body does not want to go forward, and to incorporate this connection better. And this is something I'm working on today. My brain is way too strong for me to, like, it pushes me a lot too much.
Yeah, but this story. It's just so amazing how you were able to experiment and believe your way into healing, and now doing so much work Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is, if you were to just single out one thing that was most maybe surprising for you in the process of that you didn't expect would be helpful, let's say?
Mm. So, yeah, I like to say that life happens for me, not to me. That I was meant to be in this character then, and like because I learned so much through it, and it gave me space to get to know myself a lot better because I really had to focus on how I was thinking and what I was thinking, and I like it really got me to like because I was trying so many different things, and it really helped me getting to know myself, and also this time it really helped me uh, like learn about neuroscience and how it's connected to creativity and all those things, and I like and random things in my life today, like I belong in a community that I love, and that was because of the car accident, basically, because of that I went to see a specialist, and that specialist invited me to a group, and that group invited me to a conference, and now I belong in a different community, and like so many random things, good things have come out of it. So maybe that's the most surprising thing. Like and also if you look for it, you're more likely to find it, and I can find so many different valuable things. But of course it was difficult, and of course I was just lying on my couch crying, and like it was a really challenging thing, and I was really disappointed that like maybe the doctor is right, and like no, he's not right, and then I have to live with it. And yeah, so it was like also it showed me my grit, and yeah, I think we can always find something beautiful in everything if we look for it.
Yeah, yeah. It's I've heard somewhere that it's sometimes it's kind of like a glitch. If a glitch happens, then it's a place from which really unexpected and beautiful things can be created.
Yeah.
And this was obviously a major glitch, so that's not necessarily the glitch that we want. But in general, if something doesn't work, might be a good point for also for creativity, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so we kind of getting to the end of our chat. What uh, what would you say? Why are so many people reluctant to say they're creative or reluctant to kind of like do some creative things?
Mm, yeah, so some research has shown that only 50% of people describe themselves as creative. And I often, when I have give talks, I ask, like, please raise your hand if you're creative. And about half of the group usually raises their hand, unless I'm talking to accountants. There's really few that raise their hand. But I think because creativity is misunderstood, and when I tell people like it doesn't have to be that you're changing the world or you're a musician or artist. Like creativity can be like small problem solving, and then when I describe what it is, a lot more people raise their hands. And but I believe fear is the biggest hindrance to creativity, and I'm listening now to a book called The Great Leap or something, the Big Leap, and it's a quite old book, I think, but it's about that we all have this ceiling in our life. For some, it's, for example, because if we believe we will grow, that more growth will bring on more challenges. That could be a ceiling. Or if I grow and outgrow my family and friends, I might end up alone. Or it's difficult for me to outshine my siblings. Like there were several like ceilings, and I think there's so much happening in our subconsciousness that hinders our creative expression, and yeah, and also just creativity and innovation, they usually bring on uncertainty, and it's new and useful, and but the new part can bring on uncertainty and to be like a like uh in this entrepreneurial world, to be an entrepreneur, like there's so much unknown, and like you have to do so many experiments and learn so many different things, and like it can be challenging, and yeah, I think a lot can it can explain a lot, just fear and not believing. So we can go back to sorcery and call on a higher being, help us, help to protect us and lead us through this. And some people that have been able to create amazing things, I've noticed they often talk about that they are guided, and to tune into that, and to tune into the support that we have in the world. And nature is a beautiful protector, and like it's a like it can be so beautiful to use nature more for us to feel grounded and safe, and yeah, to use it as an inspiration. And yeah, I think that can be a really powerful thing to overcome this fear that is actually hindering creativity and innovation.
Yeah, yeah. I would say my experience as of lately, when I was able to somehow deeper connect through my senses to plants, to trees, is that they uh, guide me in different creative projects, give me ideas or help me choose the direction. And I'm super grateful for this also a feeling of magic that has brought into my life, which is like, what are we living for, right? Not not for the grind.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And talking about the grind, one test has been done for several years. It's called, no, I can't remember what it's called. But it's a test to measure creativity, and of course, it's difficult to measure creativity. But this test has been used, Torrance test, I think, so researchers have seen that the score in this Torrance test has been going down for a while now, and that people are scoring lower on it. And they believe, they call it the creative crisis, because we need creativity a lot more now with all those fast changes in our world. But they believe like it's going down according to this test, and they believe the reason is that we don't feel bored enough. Like when we feel bored, we pick up the phone and do something on the phone, and we are too rushed, and like and the brain doesn't have the space it needs to feel creative and calm. So going often into nature to calm our systems, to feel bored, to relax and slow things down, I think it's becoming a lot more important than ever before, because we need it. And in one book I recently read called digital minimalism, they were talking about that it's so important to be like go on solitude walks, that I go on a walk, especially in nature, without podcast, without my phone, without music, without having someone next to me talking, and I'm just alone walking in nature, allowing my thought processes to go on without this constant stimulation. And yeah, so solitude in nature, I think it becomes a lot more powerful than ever before.
Yeah, and it's amazing what type of adventures we can have just being in nature, usual, regular nature. And if yeah, I think you have to be in a certain state for it, so it comes with practice. But I think it's also something magical.
Nice.
But,
I'm curious, can you share how you practice it? Like, what did you practice?
Well, of course, I go without any technology, and then I like having no route that I follow. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna go in a way where something calls me. I'm gonna go there, and if I have an urge and an impulse to sit under a tree, to touch something, to take something, then I do it. And it was first I'm like, okay. And you can also think about a question when you do that. And now I find these things, and have these experiences that somehow are amazing. I think because I see many more things, that, and I trust myself more to be following the impulse. I don't know, but I had some experiences that was like, wow, some coincidences and things like that.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was super taking the time. Is there maybe like one thing you would like to finish with about creativity, or an invitation of how we can be creative, or anything that comes?
Yeah, what comes to my mind is practice makes perfect, and there has been research some different exercises we can use to enhance our creativity. For example, combining the challenge problem we have, or with a random word or random feeling, imagining that we're someone else than we are, or to go into question storming instead of brainstorming. And like, yeah, I think just practice makes perfect, and this is something we can become better at, and I highly recommend that we focus on that, because it's just magical. It can really change our lives.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple of words that I know the time, but how do people find you? Or
Yeah, I post regularly on LinkedIn, so they can find me on LinkedIn. My username is Birna DB, and yeah, also if they want to try the software, then create it. It's called bulby.com, like a light bulb, bulby.com. And yeah, they can send me a message through LinkedIn if they want to chat, because I love talking about this topic.
yeah, and I will share the link to your LinkedIn also in show notes.
Yes, thank you.
Birna, have a beautiful day, and we'll see you, I'm sure, sometime.
Thank you for listening to The Breath of Life. It means a lot to me. If something in this conversation touched you, consider sharing it with someone and connecting in the process. Follow The Breath of Life for new episodes, and join me on Substack, where I publish my weekly writings. The link is in the show notes. Till next time.